Everyone, this is Majir Urdu from Pakistan, and you're watching my YouTube channel Insani Ittihad, which aims to invoke a little bit of humanity in all of us through awareness and understanding. So, one brother from Israel asked me about my views in regards to who are these Baloch people. I am also one, and what do I think of the Baloch culture? But I would like to start off by first having a detailed look at what happened in the Karachi University suicide attack, which is being portrayed and displayed by Pakistani and Indian media as a suicide bomb attack by a educated Baloch woman who was a student at Karachi University of her MPhil degree, and she blew herself up to kill these Chinese professors at the Confucius Chinese Institute in Karachi University. Now, I would like you to watch the video footage, CCTV footage of that incident, and in that CCTV footage you can clearly see this woman walking in from the other direction from where this coach or this bus is coming. So she does not face, or meaning that she is not looking at this van coming towards that or making a turn. So she is looking in the opposite direction, and the van and the bus is coming from her behind. And she is constantly kind of looking at her mobile or something in her hands. One might say that, okay, she might have an operator who signaled her as soon as the bus or the van took the turn, and then she blew herself up. Could be. Only the detailed investigation can actually reveal the real truth. But in my opinion, the footage that I saw, in that footage, the bus was burning from inside, meaning the flames were coming from the inside of the bus. Usually when a suicide attack happens to a bus, like a person who's standing outside and the bus is there, as soon as the person detonates itself or herself or himself, there is a dent or there is this crack between that van or that bus. The bus is intact from all four sides. Of course, the bumper and everything, it went or hit the pedestrian and maybe electricity, that thing. So yeah, there was a dent on the front of it, but besides that, the van was actually intact, and the flames were coming from the inside of the van. In my personal opinion, I see the footage, and they're saying that you would read the English translation, and one of the guys are saying that there is a blast in the car, inside the car, in the car, and not a suicide bomb attack. In my opinion, as per the footage that I'm seeing and analyzing, I think that this Baloch woman, because of her past in BLA is Baloch Liberation Army, which is actually the arch rival of army, and it only targets the Pakistan army personnel. There was this operation by the exact same group, which actually, unfortunately, I don't know how they have accepted the responsibility that this was their operative, this woman. She was actually a BLA, ex-BLA member or supporter or promoter. But of course, she got married. She has 2 children. Her father is a government servant of 20 grade. So in Pakistani bureaucracy, civilian administration, there are grades in which people are inducted or are or provide their services. from 1 to 22. 22 is the most highest bureaucratic position or grade, as we say here. So her father was ex-retired government officer of 20 grade. So highly educated family, affluent family, well-off family. And to frame this woman who is doing her MPhil, and frame her, it's such a sad thing personally for me. I am a postgraduate myself. I have a MPhil equivalent MS degree, 18 years of education in total, and 6 years education in total in terms of university degrees, and with a research thesis, of course, in HRM. And apart from that, I have an MBA in finance and HR too. So this poor girl, now, in my opinion, who is framed for having her passed in the BLA as a BLA supporter, or I don't know if she worked for BLA, but she definitely supported the cause of the Balochistan rights movement. Now this young woman who has left behind 2 children, I don't know if I don't know what will happen to them, or they will be radicalized or brainwashed into these Chinese people, or these Americans brainwashed your mother and killed them, or against the BLA. I don't know how the ISI or RAW. In my opinion, this whole thing was a pure and raw nexus of the Pakistani intelligence agency ISI and the Indian intelligence agency RAW. And this sort of similar thing happened to another woman who also spoke outrightly for the rights of the Baloch people in Balochistan, in that province. And she was living in Canada. In Canada, she was killed mysteriously, and her body was found drowned in, I think, in a lake or something like that. And they were saying that she went for swimming and she drowned there. I don't think so. That sort of things happen. Either if you're a good swimmer, you don't drown, and if you drown, you're not a good swimmer, and you are brought in such a situation. So very unfortunate event, but in my opinion, she is framed into the entire thing. I think the driver who was driving these 3 professors to the Confucius Chinese Institute actually detonated himself and threw that that pin of detonation towards that woman, and that woman probably have been placed at the gate of the Confucius Institute, Chinese Institute at Karachi, by some operator, maybe some ISI operator, because it is mentioned in regards to her that recently her husband was given a government job, and she was actually she gave up arms, and she gave her loyalty to the ISI and the army, and said that I will no longer work for the anti-Pakistan or anti-establishment thing, and I want to integrate. I want to be a patriot. I want to study. I want to I want a normal life. I do not want this whole thing that this BLA is playing in the hands of RAW or in interest groups, because usually these interest groups are nobody's friends. Okay, so they just use you and they dispose off, and at least this is what ISI, RAW, and CIA and KGB, MI6 or whatever, and even okay, not Mossad, because let's just say not Mossad. So the rest of the intelligence agencies usually use these civilians for their own benefits and then discard them. Anyway, this is also a big strategy of RAW and ISI to show the Chinese that Balochs are against them, which is actually not truth, is not the real truth. Balochs, one, never use their women for real Balochs. let me be specific, or don't use to take revenge from their enemy women. I think they are brave enough to fight the women, fight their enemies head on and face to face themselves. They don't use, usually the real Balochs do not use women as a as a tool to take revenge on their enemy. Okay, one might say that Chinese are their enemy. Well, okay, in that sense, if Chinese, they have an issue with the Chinese coming into Karachi and taking over Karachi port, then Karachi port is in Sindh province, it's not in Balochistan. As for the Gwadar port is actually under Russian and Chinese control together, but work has been stopped there because of the same security reason. The Chinese have said until or unless ISI in Pakistan army would pay us for the other murderers of the Chinese engineers, they will pay off the amount which the Chinese government actually asked for their families to be paid by Pakistan, and also ensure the security of the future projects in Gwadar of the Chinese personnel. So that work is on hold. So saying that Balochs have indirect hatred towards Chinese, actually Chinese have halted their works in Balochistan, so I don't think so. That links up. It is clear this woman is just called by a friend or anyone to that place, and at the time she reaches, the van comes, and then and I think the real culprit here could be the driver, or maybe the bomb is planted into the van previously, and the driver didn't know, nobody knew who were in that bus or van, and somebody remotely detonated that bomb, and that's why the flames were coming from the inside of that van rather than having this dent and the effects from the outside. She is just simply framed. Now the question that what do I think in regards to Baloch people? Well, in my opinion, the Baloch people are not my favorite people in the world. In fact, if you ask me, most of the people in Balochistan who are Baloch are pretty backward and uneducated. They are wrapped up in this, very old traditional cultural heritage that they have, which is very tribal. However, it's not Islamically radical sort of an ideology. It is much more tribal, conservative, closed society. And women, Baloch women who have been educated and have families who are culturally conservative, yet they're educated, and they're modern enough to be tolerant and accommodative and inclusive. My father married a Christian. Yes, she converted, but this in itself shows that my father married a woman who was non-Muslim. So had he been this radical, he would have not married a non-Muslim woman. My mother never wore a burqa. My mother wore saris. She was fond of them. I once wear sari. I'm not fond of it. Very modest sort of a sari. I don't like the expose. Anyway, not my favorite dress though. The Baloch women have our traditional tribal dress code, which is very embellished and everything with this headscarf. Of course, not this hijab type, but just like that. And we're not very radically religious. Actually, this radical burqa ideology is given to us thanks to the Indian migrants who we refer to as Mahajars or Urdu speakings, or even Punjabis who have come from Haryana and Indian Haryana and Indian Punjab and Uttar Pradesh of India, or all those places, and the Indian Hyderabad. So those people are more like into religious fanaticism and religious fundamentalism and religious extremism, wearing burqas and hijabs and everything. By the way, I wear this hijab not because I think I am a very well, I was a practicing Muslim. I did had issues with Islam, but I would not say I was a liberal who used to wear bikini and went sunbathing every Sunday. And I don't think I would be able to do that even after I convert to Judaism. Not my cup of tea, shall I say. And yeah, so I was this modest person. I was practicing. I liked it. There's some things that I hated extremely. I always wanted to pursue education. I still want to do my PhD. I'm so looking forward to it. So yeah, and my father was very good in supporting me to pursue education, even join the bureaucracy and civil service. I personally didn't have any interest in that. I wanted to do something else. My dream was actually in 2011. I actually mentioned it at the MGC too, Muslim Jewish Conference too, that I wanted to join the Hoover Institute of Strategic Policy Analysis. I wanted to be the political analyst and that sort of a person. So I had my bachelor done in political science and international relations. Usually I used to bunk classes because I was working also at that time, and but I studied a lot and I prepared myself a lot for that. Studied all sorts of books and autobiographies and all that. But yeah, it was interesting. But in my opinion, I think this whole nexus of Pakistani ISI and Pakistani ISI and RAW is a biggest threat to the international security and peace. And this nexus gets even more dangerous with the fact that both the Pakistani and Indian diaspora has penetrated into the institutional, places in the US, Canada, Australia, Europe, all the Western world. So it is a internal threat to the West, and also a geopolitical threat to the entire world, including China, including the communist world of Putin and Xi Jinping. And I think the biggest threat is the nexus of Pakistani ISI, Indian RAW, and then Arabs collaborating with these two. So if there will be any third war, I think this nexus would be at the forefront, actually organizing the whole World War III thing, because they are at the heart of events and making things go wrong in any direction. As far as my opinion goes, for the Baloch people, I think they're not trustworthy, including me. Okay, fine, you could be. If you people can't trust me, I would not definitely force them to trust me. At MGC, I think I have seen as the odd one out from the Pakistani group. But despite that, of all the Pakistani participants who attended the MGC Muslim Jewish Conference, all of them have secured scholarships. They almost all of them are settled abroad in the Western countries, in the US, Canada, whatnot. And nobody is talking about either combating anti-Semitism or creating favorable views in regards to Jews, or the existence of Israel in Pakistan, or Israel advocacy in Pakistan, or stressing the fact that Pakistan needs to unilaterally unilaterally, without conditions, have to recognize Israel because that's just the right thing. Only I am doing this, and only I am the one who is crazy one out talking to you guys and solving this. I mean, it's literally 6 a.m. here in Pakistan. We had an electricity issue from I think 12 a.m. tonight, and we didn't have electricity, so I was waiting. I was awake almost the entire night because of not having electricity also. And then I had said that I would upload this video and my views regarding this incident and generally about Baloch people. So I stayed awake, recorded this video, and probably would upload it right after finishing it. But yeah, I want to just give a little bit of context of in regards to what exactly is the Balochistan issue and what rights and what are these people actually talking about. So Balochistan was an independent state before 1947. So in 1947, majority, so there are many tribes who live under this name of Baloch. So Baloch is this one community, and under this community, just like there were 12 tribes, so there are so many tribes under this Baloch surname. There was this person in a place called Kalat. He was the tribal leader of Kalat, and he was called Khan of Kalat. And since his estate and his land was the most in terms of area coverage, so all the other Baloch tribal leaders actually sort of served him as the most highest tribal leader. In his opinion, he said that if Balochistan is annexed with Pakistan as a Muslim state, it will be good. All the Muslim tribal leaders before 1947 were Muslims. I mean, these Balochs have been there in Balochistan for I think 300-400 years. Basically, Balochs are originated from either Iraq, that is Babylon or Iraq, ancient Babylon or Iraq, current Iraq, or Iran. And some Balochs are Sunni, some Balochs are Shia, depending on the origin that they actually originate from. Balochistan was actually a very mountainous, dry sort of a land which was nomadically inhabited by so many diverse communities, but most of the land was not habitable or was not adopted by communities living there because of the terrain. It was very rough, and the vegetation and agriculture only happened in the rainy season. So these Baloch tribes from Iran used to come in the rainy season, and in the dry season they would go back to Iran. So that sort of things happened. But yes, when the British came, development happened, roads, buildings, and everything. Then they started settling down into this. In fact, in the Mughal era, because Mughals were Persians, so they were the ones who actually settled majority of the tribes in Balochistan. Before that also, there was this footprint of these nomadic people who would come and go. Anyway, in 1947, most of the tribal leaders refused to annex themselves into Pakistan, but Khan of Kalat unilaterally against the majority of the tribal leaders of Balochistan annexed the entire province into Pakistan. It is the largest province in Pakistan land-wise, and it is the smallest in terms of population, but thanks to the Pashtun settlers. No. So in 80s, when Afghan war was happening, the ISI actually brought many of the Afghan Pashtuns and settled them into Balochistan, and that was a huge cause of rift by these Balochs. But before that, in 50s and 60s, when the Americans provided for the Industrial Revolution, and the natural gas reserves were actually discovered in Balochistan, that was the time that the real issue of Balochistan started. What actually happened was that there were people from India who migrated to Pakistan, and swiftly and quickly and cunningly and shrewdly they penetrated into the institutional establishment of Pakistan, whether it was the bureaucracy, civilian administration, or lawyers or judges, or teachers, or army personnel. So these people who were Urdu speaking or Punjabi speaking actually thought that if we penetrate ourselves into the institution of newly created Pakistan, one day we will make sure that we control the entire country, and then we annex the entire Pakistan back to India. Why did they want to do that? Resources, and the fact that they thought that Muslims would have in a united India, Pakistan and Bangladesh, one single country, they will be able to outnumber the Christians and Hindus and everything, and so Muslim people will be one single majority, and they would actually rule the whole of India, the resourceful India, the agricultural and industrially developed India, and then it will be a huge benefit for us as Muslims, and then we will take over Israel and the West one on one and destroy them with the help of Arabs, of course. So that was their plan, and it was a very religiously motivated plan. Hindus, on the other hand, thought that since they were all Indians, we and RAW also now thinks that all these Muslims will have their homecoming, and they are on a mission too. So rather than they outnumbering us, we will convert them right back into Hinduism. I sometimes find it really funny how would they do it when a Hindu person who is a Hindu guy who is uncircumcised, and then he would be circumcised after converting to Islam. What and how will the Hindus grow the foreskin on his penis altogether? Okay, very bad joke, very sarcastic joke. But this alliance, in my opinion, the Pakistani military establishment, ISI, and Indian military establishment, and RAW is a serious threat to the entire world, to the security of the world. And we can see how Kamala Harris, Devi ji, rose to power, and she, along with Joe Biden, are the most insignificant, irrelevant VP and president in the history of United States of America. And it's just so sad to see. Then again, the world must see and focus itself on Germany, because of this Ukraine war and everything. Everybody has the agenda on its own. Putin has its own agenda and hate towards the West. But please understand, what's happening in Ukraine could be merely a distraction to divert what actually happening in the mainstream EU. Germany is at a serious stake of launching the nuclear war from actually Germany itself. India and Pakistan initially planned that, okay, once Devi ji Kamala ji comes into power, Joe Biden gets COVID or somehow dies, she becomes the president, and then she would have a full-fledged war with China for Pakistan and for India. Why Pakistan? I'm saying many people will say, okay, they are doing CPAC and this and that, whatnot. But the fact of the matter is, Chinese administration, Chinese investment is actually choking Pakistan out. And that is a huge threat for all the Islamists and radicals, because China has clearly said that you have assured us security clearance and secure investment and security intelligence of our personnel. You need to provide us this. And until anything happens, the projects are on hold, but the debt will keep on increasing because it's a time lap, and yearly you would have to pay us a certain amount of interest on it. So it is in favor of China if the development is at halt, because the debt would increase on Pakistan, and eventually Pakistan will have to give its governmental assets and have to give out land and space to the Chinese. And now these Pakistani establishment, whether civilian administration or ISI or military establishment, they went running, started licking the asses of the Indians, and said that after all we were one country, please for God's sake help us. So Indians say, okay, fine, we are already in the mood of Hinduism, getting all the Muslims back to their homecoming and becoming Hindu, and we have our own grudges against the West and this and that, and we don't either like China or communism. So yeah, we would surely help you. So this whole thing, this whole drama, I mean, who knows? My sister was saying maybe, maybe you want to apply to the US now, because okay, so I had some plans to go to EU. I was unfortunately, those plans are unfortunately drowned for some reason, but I think everything happens for a reason. So I was thinking either UK or US. So my sister was saying, is it possible that this bomb blast is to show the US and UK embassies here in Pakistan not to give a visa to this woman? She probably is lying that she will convert to Judaism. But yeah, people do that. People do that. Agencies do that. That's their job. My stepbrother, who hates me really, really bad, is actually working in the IB, which is Intelligence Bureau. Our phones are tapped. We are monitored 24/7. And yeah, and there is a catch for our extended family and stepbrothers and sisters too, because my father left us 250 acres of land and a big house in the city and also in our village. So if something happens to us or we die or whatever, our family gets this big property. The whole world knows that, oh, Pakistan is a very radical country, so let's just not invest in it. Then it will be Pakistan and India working together and having Pakistan Indians investing in Pakistan, making things here, and then putting the made in India badge on the products of Pakistanis, and then sending it to EU and US and getting revenue in dollars. So this nexus is just so amazing. I sometimes think when these Indians say that it was us Indians who brokered the deal of UAE and all these Arab countries to have peace and recognition with Israel. And I funnily and sarcastically say, yeah, you were taking advantage of Israel for its technology, its economy, and everything, and then you invited the Arabs. You Arabs, you were once pagan also, and okay, fine, you converted to this Abrahamic monotheistic, fucking religion, whatever. Now just we're taking advantage of them. Why can't you do the same and still have the enmity towards them and just play nice, play friendly? And when once you are able to you get that sort of technological advancement, you have enough weapons, then go and do whatever you want. That's why UAE buying 100 F-16s, or I think 100 Rafales, I don't exactly remember, for what?
For Iran, really, I mean, this is, if the Muslim world has a real threat against Iran and they really hate it, they can now, make this Sunni alliance and attack Iran. No time. And I think Iran won't be able to, you know, sustain that. I mean, they can gang up against Israel, but they cannot gang up against Iran. Actually, shows this nexus. And also, India, ironically, has invested in Iran also. But again, China countered it. China entered into Iran and Pakistan, and it was a smart move because the Chinese wanted to have they have to secure the Pakistani-Iranian border and make sure that the Gwadar port has no threat from the Iranian border. So yeah, I mean, in my personal opinion, this Baloch girl is framed just because she was fighting for the rights and resources of her people in Balochistan, which these immigrants from India, ever since the partition, they have took over this institutional and autonomy to have a hold on the resources of all the 4 provinces. So basically, whatever investment comes into Pakistan in the name of development or UN plan or IMF or whatever, the first and foremost share goes to these immigrants who call themselves Pakistani, but their loyalties are actually with the Akhand India, and the hatred towards the West, because the West actually divided the Akhand India, the United India, barring them the opportunity to take over the India again, just like they used, just like before the British, there was this Muslim rule over the India. And then the Hindus thought, oh no, we had our own plans. If the British would have left without division, we would have ruled the entire India and converted all these Muslims back to Hindu religion. So these people actually sort of take all the share in terms of money coming into Balochistan or each and every province of Pakistan. Then the next share goes to the local Punjabis who used to live here in Pakistan, and the third share goes to the Pashtuns of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and they are given this share at a third place just because of their good looks, because we all know Indians love, and not just Indian, this is a universal thing, we all love blue eyes, blonde hair, white and tall people. Ridiculous, I'm being sarcastic, by the way. So yeah, I mean, this whole nexus is very, very dangerous, and it's such a unfortunate thing that this woman who has a family, who has a husband, who knows somebody, ISI just kidnapped her husband or her children, threatened to kill them if she would not blow herself up. That could be a possibility, but in my personal opinion, if you watch the video, you can clearly say she has no clue of what is coming from her behind. Either it was the driver or it is a remotely detonated bomb from afar. This woman is just simply framed because she spoke for the rights of the Baloch people, and she was against that these immigrants, these Mahajir Pakistani, Mahajir Urdu speaking and Mahajir Punjabis would get posted through bureaucracy or through army postings or through institutionalized mechanism, get residency permits in Balochistan, get their NIC made from Balochistan, and then get their domicile made from Balochistan, and then when they get retired, they would get benefits in terms of land area from Balochistan, and then they would get natural gas royalty from the government of Pakistan. So this has to be seen very, very carefully. Again, in the last, I would like to again mention what's happening in Germany, the accumulation of the ISI and RAW operatives gathering up in Germany. And you would say, why Germany? Because the Kamala Harrison plan didn't work out and there was no war in terms of West going against the communists. Now they are placing or replacing themselves in Germany, because guess what, all the nukes of the British and the French and the US are placed in Germany. So just like once in blue sky, this rocket, this nuclear arsenal can just fly from Germany and drop into one of the countries that they don't like accidentally, and they trigger a World War III. Watch out for that. Pakistanis don't actually end up in Israel, but yes, Indians have a very easy penetration in Israel. So next time if you see somebody in Tel Aviv University who is from India saying that I'm here to learn coding, just see if he or she is really learning coding, or they're coding you or uncoding you, shall I say. So be careful. The diaspora is very dangerous. The whole agenda of subcontinent is so dangerous, not just for the world, but I guess for themselves also, for India, Pakistan, entire world. This destructive hate wrapped up in this naive goodness, pettiness is highly dangerous. It's highly dangerous. And I hope that the truth of this incident comes out. Do watch the videos that I will put the link in the description. My opinion in regards to Baloch people, they need to get education. There are some of the Baloch traditions which are backward, awkward, and they shouldn't be part of our culture anymore. Religiously, I don't think we are this radical, but if we are, we need to change. Are the Baloch people trustworthy? No, I don't think so. When it comes to security, I think everybody should be scrutinized very rigorously and very ruthlessly. Having said that, I personally was discriminated because of my surname in Pakistan by other Pakistanis, because, well, some of the tribal leaders in Balochistan before or in 47 didn't agree to annex the Baloch province into Pakistan. That is something of a big grudge the Pakistani establishment and Pakistani bureaucracy holds against the Balochs. I was working in a multinational, and all the other members of my batch were permanent, were inducted into that multinational except me. And the reason was I was Baloch. Second reason was the plant. It was an oil and gas company, so the natural gas extracting plant was actually near my area, which is Dadu. And thirdly, I supported the West more openly and rigorously. I supported the whole idea of Israel, and I actually had Jewish friends that I didn't hide or was not ashamed of. The other Pakistani participants who attended the Muslim Jewish conference vanish away, or they actually feel a little bit ashamed of being associated with that, until they manage to cunningly and shrewdly and very cunningly included the term Islamophobia into that conference, equivalent to anti-Semitism, which I think is the biggest disgrace and disrespect to the Jewish people and their suffering, and anti-Semitism and the work of people who have done so much combating anti-Semitism. And I was personally hurt when Islamophobia and anti-Semitism was put into one committee by Muslim Jewish Conference. And yes, I was very open about that. I did mention this to Ilyas Rakosi. So anyway, and despite that, out of all these MGC participants, I think I'm the only one who is talking to you right now on geopolitical, security, and whatnot issues. This tells something, and yeah, it's such a sad state of affairs actually. So I hope this video is informative, and it helps in any way. So yeah, these are my views, and yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.